Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again, and welcome to The Roads with Bo. Today is June 2nd, 2024, and this is episode 41 of The Roads Not Taken, which is a weekly series where we go through the previous week's events and talk about news that was unreported, underreported, didn't get the coverage I thought it deserved, or I just found it interesting. And then at the end, we go through some questions from y'all. Most times I haven't seen any of them. I am aware of one of them this time. And just kind of catch up on the week. Okay, so starting off with foreign policy. The United States believes a Russian satellite, Cosmos 2576, is in fact a space weapon, some kind of weapon to be deployed in space. In South Africa, the ANC has lost its majority. That is a majority that has been held for 3 decades. It's been a really long time. So they're going to have to form a coalition of some sort. So a peace proposal, kind of, was put forward. And Netanyahu appears to be attempting to undermine it by saying that, no matter what, they're still going to continue pursuing their goals. In totally unsurprising news, Gantz appears to be applying pressure for it to move forward and applying pressure on Netanyahu. There's been a lot of posturing about this. We still don't have a firm picture of what is going on internally. Okay. France has told Israel not to come to an arms show that they're holding. They don't want their companies there. If you don't know, there are a number of Israeli companies that export as well. Okay, moving on to U.S. news. There are concerns being raised about the possibility that Trump might have been, or might still be, profiting off of his Secret Service details. Shock, right? I mean, I'm shocked. I'm surprised. Republicans in competitive Senate races seem to be reevaluating their positions on reproductive rights. And by that, I mean just outright flip-flopping. That's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. There was a massive lithium deposit discovered in Pennsylvania. Trump is reported to have used the N-word on The Apprentice. This isn't getting a lot of coverage right now because of all of the other Trump news. But I'm just going to go ahead and say none of his supporters are going to care about him doing that 20 years ago. Most of them probably said it last week. I don't think that this is going to be a major thing. Trump claimed the judge wouldn't let him use an advice of counsel defense. That is a lie. That's not true. It's just when you use that defense, there are a lot of things that go along with it, and they didn't want to go that route. Jenna Ellis has reportedly agreed to a deal that has her ability to practice law in Colorado suspended for 3 years, and this is related to her plea there in Georgia. Moving on to cultural news, a concert goer has filed suit against Madonna because she was late, it was hot, and he was forced to watch topless women dance on stage. I have a whole lot of questions about this because, it was, in fact, a Madonna concert. I'm not really sure what was expected. A white man disguised himself as a black man to travel the country and write a book about racism. I feel like at some point there might have been like a black author or two or 50 that wrote about this. I'm not sure that this was necessary. Maybe we could just, read what they had to say about it. But what do I know? Okay. In science news, let's see. Okay, so bird flu is continuing to infect cow herds and chickens here in the U.S. To combat climate change risks, an organization called the Miami Foundation has set up a permanent fund to disperse grants quickly after a storm and kind of be proactive when it comes to mitigation. I haven't fully looked into it yet, but it at first glance, it seems pretty cool. In really kind of off the wall news, the people over at No Such Agency, they've recommended that you turn your phone off and on once a week. They are concerned about certain kind of exploits that could be used. The Doomsday Glacier is melting faster than scientists thought. Okay, in oddities, an 80-something-year-old man was arrested in California for what is being described as a years-long vandalism spree involving smashing windows with a slingshot and ball bearings. Those were the allegations. He was released on bond and then passed. A billionaire from Ohio is planning to take a mini-sub to the Titanic site to prove that the industry is safe. I feel like we've seen this one before. I hope this one turns out better than the last. Conservatives are super mad over Representative Crockett's merch because it bears the phrase bleach blonde bad built butch body. They seem to be trying to organize a campaign to make her stop selling it. I'm really glad I already ordered mine. Okay, moving on to the Q&A. We're going to start with something that isn't really a question. It says, it's the beginning of Pride Month now, and I'm over 3 years deep into my transition. During this time, it's been very stressful having my identity boiled down into terrible assumptions about my intentions, and it's been very dehumanizing. Though I'm not here to talk about that. I wanted to tell you something that you could maybe tell your viewers, cis or trans, about what it means to me that I'm openly trans. I can look in the mirror and see a smiling woman looking back at me and know that I'm her. I can pursue romantic interests, knowing that I'm not living a lie and whoever loves me will love me for me. I have made many wonderful friends and tightened bonds with some of my family through my identity. Clothes shopping is finally enjoyable, and I've let go, mostly, of fearing what others think of me when I want to enjoy a fruity beverage. My hobbies feel richer, my friendships feel more meaningful, and I feel an incredible sense of community with my LGBTQ+ brothers, sisters, and those in betwixt. I wanted to tell you this because I want others like me and those who believe in progress, that better things are possible, that transitioning has made my life worth living for, gender-affirming care has helped me strive beyond a fog of empathy and into a life that I finally feel happy to be in control of. I'm pretty sure empathy was supposed to be apathy. That's probably a typo. People who choose to be openly queer or openly allied with us deserve to know that my life is made better with your efforts and that I don't feel alone anymore. Everyone deserves that too, even if they hate people like me. Everyone, especially them, and the scared trans kids who need our help. Happy Pride Month. Okay, moving on to the standard questions here. What do you make of Republicans being mad about all of the chain restaurants closing and then blaming Biden? I'm aware of this. I wish that they would look into why that was occurring and what part of capitalism is responsible for that. But I think if you're looking for a quick response rather than educating them about basic economics, I would probably start with, I thought we were supposed to support small business. This is a chance for all of those mom and pop restaurants that you said you enjoyed to come back. In the bottom right-hand corner of the frame in that video about sheep dipping, there's an Easter egg I can't make out. It looks like an SF tab, but it's not. What does it say? Regular guy. It says regular guy. There are governments all around the world that will not allow convicted felons into their countries. How would this impact Trump's ability to perform the duties of President of the United States? Realistically, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. When you're talking about government officials traveling to and from other countries, it becomes foreign policy. What's foreign policy about? Power. They're going to want the President of the United States to come. That's not really going to be an issue. I was watching the verdict on Midas Touch and was really happy when I heard that Trump was guilty. And then I went over to some of my leftist Discord spaces. In parentheses, it says first mistake. And there were some instant messages about how this doesn't change anything, and there was a lot of doomerism. I had to close the app after a few minutes. I know that this doesn't change the minds of any MAGA. I know that a lot of people on the right are probably not going to be swayed, but a victory is a victory. And I understand that many don't have faith in the system or our politics, especially for LGBTQ plus individuals. But it's disheartening to see so much doomerism on the left, and it makes me wonder about the general election, since Trump still has a chance, especially if people don't vote. How do you stay motivated and upbeat no matter what's going on while still being realistic and not falling into toxic positivity? Again, this is one of those things where you don't have a choice. As far as staying motivated, it's one of those things. You either stay in the fight or you give up. And to me, it seems that staying in the fight is probably worth it. As far as staying upbeat, it is important to remember that every commentator you see on YouTube, they get to choose when they record. Nobody is upbeat all the time, no matter what. That's not really a thing. But you can, do what you're trying to do here. Focus on the wins, because it's not a short process. It's not easy. It's not simple. It's an ongoing thing. And as long as you understand that, then as long as you understand that it's not short, it's not easy, it's not simple, and that it's worth staying in the fight, the getting back to being upbeat part should be relatively easy. Relatively. Is there a way to check if the amounts a politician claims to raise are accurate? Oh, I have so many questions about that. Yes, but it takes time. It's not immediate. I feel as though maybe the numbers being reported by the Trump team are not entirely accurate, and I feel like they might actually be getting themselves into trouble not realizing it, because there are certain kinds of donations that can be made that might be for a Trump, a an organization that supports Trump, but by election laws can't coordinate with them. There might be issues that come of this later. But short version, if you want to check out politicians' fundraising and stuff like that, Open Secrets. Do an internet search for Open Secrets. It takes a little bit of time to figure out how to navigate the website, but once you do, it's all there. Everything you want to know. Okay, just a question from a curious Canadian. Is the number of judges on the Supreme Court fixed by law, or could the Democrats increase the number of sitting judges to neutralize corrupt and seditious judges' powers? Okay, so it's fixed by law, but it's not fixed in the Constitution. It can be expanded. In fact, there are strong arguments to expand it to either 11 or 13. And those arguments, I mean, they would definitely accomplish what you're talking about here, but they're actually rooted in arguments that aren't partisan. So is it something that can be done? Yes. Will they? I don't know about that. We'll have to wait and see how it continues to play out as far as whether or not the Supreme Court continues on its current course. What makes effective leftist communication and publicity in the U.S.? Does it depend on the region/audience? I know that for one thing, nothing makes my eyes roll harder than hearing a leftist in the U.S. say "comrade," or reference Lenin, or it's simply no way to win American over. What works for you? Does it depend on the region audience? Yes. It is entirely dependent on that. And it varies. A lot of like the old school, Soviet stuff, it might work in more industrial areas. It depends on where you're at a lot. That would not work here. Okay, where I live, that would not work here. Here, you have to talk about unions, the co-op, subsidies, farm aid, multi-family homesteads, stuff like that. And that's how you can get people interested in the other economic aspects. This stuff would not work where I'm at. However, it's important to understand that the U.S. is broken up into so many different demographics that there are definitely places where this would work. And it's every location in every state where there's a break in either the city-rural divide, the demographic divides, each one is different in how you have to talk about it because it's the U.S. Because of the Cold War, you have so much residual stuff that was really aimed at the Soviet Union, not actually aimed at leftist ideals, but the way it came across, there's a lot of bleed over. So it's a whole lot of people in the United States, they do not view Marx, as an example, as a political or economic theory. They view it as totalitarianism, period. So it's very hard to talk about leftist ideas. You're talking about a country that is just warming to like ideas like social democracy. So, I mean, I get what you're saying. Yes, this would not work here, but there are places where it would. This is definitely one of those things that falls under diversity of tactics. Okay, and that actually looks like it. Wow, that seemed like it went by really fast. Okay, so there you go. A little more information, a little more context, and having the right information will make all the difference. Y'all have a good day.